Welcome to Kickass Radio, hosted by Jo Sainsbury, founder of Kickass Women. Join Jo over the next hour as she shares stories and conversations that are both inspiring and empowering. Having spent over 30 years in the corporate sector, Jo Sainsbury kicked off her heels and became a coal train driver working in the rail and mining industry. It has been her goal ever Welcome to Kickass Radio, hosted by Jo Sainsbury, founder of Kickass Women. Join Jo over the next hour as she shares stories and conversations that are both inspiring and empowering. Having spent over 30 years in the corporate sector, Jo Sainsbury kicked off her heels and became a coal train driver working in the rail and mining industry. It has been her goal ever since to empower and support women who are considering a career change into an industry role, making the transition as smooth as possible. Jo is a walking, talking success story of how taking the plunge into industry can open up a world of opportunity. And you can do it too. If you're a woman working in industry or considering a career change, this is the radio station for you. Let's get into this episode of Kickass Radio.
Welcome to the Kickass Radio show. Welcome to today's show, which is a little left of field, but so very relevant to women at work. With the blow-up of disrespectful behaviour towards women in this country over the past couple of weeks being brought to light, let alone all around the world, I wanted to have a chat and highlight some much-needed conversations we all need to encourage in our homes, in our workplaces, in our circle of friends, and in our communities in general. Now, if you're living in Australia and you've scrolled through social media over these past couple of weeks, you no doubt have seen many people, especially women, marching through their hometowns last Monday in the name of gender equality. Now, across the country, over 40 locations hosted March for Justice protests, calling for change in widespread change in federal Australian Parliament in regards to gendered violence and inequality. The Now, this follows the high-profile allegations of rape that have emerged from Canberra, our nation's capital, and one made by a former staffer, Brittany Higgins, against a senior parliamentary staffer, as well as a second against Attorney General Christian Porter, who allegedly raped a 16-year-old woman back in 1988. In Tasmania, Australian of the Year recipient and sexual assault survivor Grace Tame also spoke about the danger of silence. You know, as is often the case, when an issue that has been shrouded in darkness for such a long time is suddenly thrust into the light, there's widespread shock and disbelief over how something so evil could happen. And not just happen, but happen so ambiguously. And the answer is plain and simple: silence. The hashtag Let Her Speak campaign creator had said that evil thrives in silence. Behaviour unspoken, behaviour ignored is behaviour endorsed. And how true is that? Let's work harder in raising our voices and enforcing the importance of being heard and the much needed implementation and practice of a worldwide culture change. You are listening to the Kickass Radio show Kickstart, where we usually talk about all things women working in non-traditional roles in varied male-dominated industries, and I tell you how it is. Today is episode 31, and it's titled Being Better Humans. I'm your host, Jo Sainsbury, the Glo-getter, and I hope we can keep you in good company over the coming hour. Now, I'd also like to make a big, huge shout out to all the women working out on track and out on site today all over the globe. Stay safe and have a fantastic day or evening shift. Now, this might be a good time for a trigger warning that today's show does and may contain some highly sensitive conversations dealing with topics including sexual harassment and sexual violence and some adult language thrown in. Okay, let's get into it. Hi, I'm Jo Sainsbury, founder of Kickass Women. As a woman working in industry, I want to share my knowledge and experience and industry know-how to support you if a change in your life is what you are looking for. Join me on my radio show, Kickass Radio, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. across Australia or on Thursday afternoon at 5 p.m. in the US. What are you waiting for? Go on, get your glow on. Conversations are needed. The who, what, where, and why to becoming better humans. Consent is about saying yes and about respecting and accepting a person's right to say no. Consent is required at any stage of being intimate with someone, asking for a dance, a date, to make out, and at any point in a relationship, whether you've just met or you've been going out since the dawn of time. The Australian Human Rights Commission conducted a randomised survey of female students a couple of years ago and released the National Report on Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment at Australian universities. Now, the report offered many suggestions for students to adopt, and while those recommendations are fantastic, everyone has a key role to play in changing the culture around sexual harassment and sexual assault. Now, after that report, an initiative was created by a group of university students from the ground up to reflect their own campus culture. But I think this is easily transferable to all of our own cultures and what I think everyone needs to appreciate: consent, respect, and empathy. The campaign is called Be a Better Human because we don't just want it to be about what we shouldn't do. We want it to be about self-improvement for everyone. And when we say everyone, we really do mean everyone. So I'm encouraging everyone to take a moment and consider how we can better our behaviour. First off, there's cultural change. Respecting each other starts with challenging what you see around you. Be critical of the pervasive ways society reinforces sexist attitudes and stereotypes, and be proactive in taking a stand. We all have a responsibility to 1. Learn and talk about consent and actively practice seeking it from other people. 2. Respect every person's rights to autonomy and identity. 3. Show empathy for others and their lived experiences and reach out to check that they are okay. The goal? To honour those who fight for gender equality, to bring light to the mistreatment and violence toward women around the world, and to share solutions to these issues that we can all take part in. The global mistreatment of women. I'll start by sharing some of the startling statistics I have learned during the last couple of weeks. While it's true that women worldwide are seeing more opportunities than ever before, it is reported with data outlining the grim situations and environments that many women still face today. For example, in Somalia, 95% of girls experience genital mutilation. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 1,000 women are raped every day. Every day, 10 Brazilian women lose their lives to domestic violence. What's more, the conspiracy of silence still exists around these issues because of many cultural norms. The silence of survivors, their families and friends, law enforcement, and other citizens has enabled and fueled this violence and mistreatment. The outcry in India provided us with some...
Hey Glo-getters, have you heard about Kickass Women? Founded by Jo Sainsbury, Kickass Women is dedicated to empowering and supporting women who are considering a career change into an industry role. Visit our brand new website at www.kickasswomen.com.au or follow Kickass Women on Facebook and LinkedIn today to keep up to date with all things Kickass Women and the incredible opportunities and content we have for you. See you there, Glo-getters.
Courage without shame. Phrases like "she asked for it" or "boys will be boys" are examples of rape culture. So too are attitudes based on gender stereotypes, that being a man means you should be dominant and aggressive, that being a woman means you need to be submissive and sexually passive, that men ought to score and women ought to be nice and not act so cold. Accepting rape myths only helps to create environments in which many individuals, women, people with disabilities, members of the LGBTQIA community are disempowered. Rape culture is tasking victims with the burden of rape prevention. Rape culture is encouraging women to learn self-defense as though that is the only solution required to prevent rape. Rape culture is warning women to learn common sense or be more responsible or avoid these places or don't dress this way, failing to caution men to not rape. And that was said by a rape victim. The legacy of rape culture and victim blaming affects everyone, but let's focus on women as an example. Although most males are decent humans, and thankfully many females are never the victims of rape, the existence of sexual assault and rape in our communities means women do change their behaviour. Whether it's learnt, don't go out wearing that, or out of fear, I should get home before it's too dark. 50% of Australian women, for example, don't feel comfortable walking a short distance home after a night out for fear of being harassed or assaulted. Whereas a guy more than likely would, and they're saying 79.2%, being on the receiving end of locker room talk, upskirting, catcalls, stalking, all the way to cohesion, harassment and sexual violence can happen to any one of us. So who are we kidding? Let's all try to be better humans and speak up instead of staying silent. Let's put a stop to the behaviour that normalises rape culture. Let's talk about rape culture. The term rape culture can sound pretty extreme, and it elicits all kinds of responses, whether it's scoffs of anger about the terminology and what it represents, or a deep sigh at the state of things. But what does the term mean? Rape culture is used to describe the environment where sexual violence is normalised and excused. That's it, just the way things are. Rape culture is perpetuated through media and pop culture by use of misogynistic language and jokes, the objectification of women's bodies, and the glamorization of violence, creating a culture that ignores women's rights and safety and makes sexual cohesion seem normal. It's not. Why is it so dangerous? Because it reinforces the continent of sexual violence, starting with so-called jokes and finishing with rape.
Hey Glo-getters, did you know that Jo Sainsbury is a published author for her book High Heels to High Vis and has been named an Amazon #1 bestseller? Telling the story about Jo's transition from the corporate sector into industry, High Heels to High Vis acts as a guide for women who are considering a non-traditional role and career. High Heels to High Vis is available for purchase online at all leading bookstores, including Amazon, Dimmicks, Waterstones and eBay.
Number 1, education is key. Women have been struggling for our rights alone for too long, and enough is enough. We believe by being inclusive and all genders working together, we can achieve more. Number 2, invest in women. Number 3, be your own role model. Number 4, advocate and practice affirmative consent. And number 5, take responsibility and act. This is perhaps the hardest step. Lastly, here's your safety affirmation for the day. Women's rights is not only an abstraction, a cause, it is also a personal affair. It is not only about us, it is also about me and you, just the two of us. And that's a great quote from Toni Morrison. That's it, guys. I do hope you found the information informative, brought to light some pretty sensitive issues, and it was helpful and valuable, and it gives you something to action and think about over the weekend. Courage is required for change. Courage is required to do what you think is right. Courage is required to live intentionally. Here's the thing about courage. Courage does not feel good. Courage requires vulnerability. Courage requires you to be willing to be wrong. What most people miss about courage is that it does not require shame. Something pretty important to think about. You may say something wrong. You may do something wrong. But you, as a human, are not wrong. Your humanness can never be wrong. So today, I hope I have highlighted how you can use courage to do what's right, but not beat yourself up about it. But if you did not or could not attend a protest in your area earlier in the week and you want to make a change, there are some things that you can do. There's a petition currently circulating to end gendered violence in Australia that you can sign, whether you are a survivor or an ally. Changing harmful attitudes and behaviours and stopping violent acts must start at the very top. You can also donate to the March for Justice cause, which has already surpassed its $100,000 goal. Remember, your voice and your actions can make a difference. For advice and support, if you or someone you know is affected by inappropriate, concerning, or threatening behaviour, or by any of the issues related to today's show, here in Australia, call Lifeline on 13 11 14 or chat online. To speak to someone about sexual violence, please call the 1800 Respect hotline on 1800 737 732 or chat online. As always, I really appreciate you guys giving me your time to listen to this radio show. You can find more information on this episode in the show notes or on my social media pages, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Be sure to tune in again next week and we'll chat about more things women in industry. Well, that's it. That's all for today's show. Thanks for your company and for listening to Kickass Radio. It's not goodbye, but see you later. Stay safe and well. Go crush it. Keep in touch. Poscoms. Go on. Get your glow on.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Kickass Radio, where we kick goals and deliver empowering conversations for women. Want to hear more from Kickass Women and Jo Sainsbury? Visit the Kickass Women website or follow Kickass Women on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. See you on the next episode of Kickass Radio.